पढ़ने के लिए बैठना पड़ता है 4 घंटे 6 घंटे, isn't it? फ़ोन बंद करके कौन करेगा? रिच क्लास के लोग तो नहीं करेंगे जब तक कि अंदर से अर्ज नहीं है। ए पर्सन वर्किंग इन कारपोरेट सेक्टर कुछ भी वो बोलते करते हैं उसका रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन होता है, परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल, ये किया वो किया, और फिर 15 इयर्स में इतना बड़ा लिस्ट बना दोगे कि उसने इतना सारा काम किया। और एक आईएएस जो है वो डे 1 से करना शुरू करता है, बहुत सारे वर्क करता है, देयर इज नो एनी रिकॉर्ड। जैसे कोई इंजीनियरिंग कर रहा है, उसको लगा कि नहीं मेरा पोटेंशियल म्यूजिक में है तो जाने दो उसको, अदरवाइज इट इज वेस्टेज ऑफ पोटेंशियल। ये पर हमारे यहाँ कैसे देखा जाता है, आईआईटी करके म्यूजिशियन बन गया, आप मेरिट क्यों प्रमोट करना चाहते हैं? मान लो उसका 2 साल का एक्सपीरियंस पोटेंशियल था, 2 साल उसने वर्क किया, उसको लग गया कि अब इसमें हमारा पोटेंशियल खत्म हो गया, अब उसको पोटेंशियल किसी और चीज में है तो लेट हिम डू दैट। हमारे सोसाइटी में अभी भी ये है कि अगर आप इंग्लिश बोलते हैं तो इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन है। सो लेट्स टेक रिफॉर्म्स। So one major aspect is lateral entry. This year also they have asked question. I remember one student, good student, writing mains. When we ask lateral entry this year in test paper, so he says, "अब तो आएगा नहीं sir." This. So we don't know why he. Good student, by the way. He wrote second time mains. Let's see what happens. We'll show you since it is a current development topic. So how they ask questions on that. Any question you have on lateral entry? So lateral entry of competent experts into the government will promote freshness and innovation, but it can create problems of accountability. Yes. So this freshness, innovations, you know that, but how it will create problems of accountability. This, by the way, you may be aware, no, how it creates problems of accountability.
Do we also have some linkages with the outside world, like some companies where they will have to be working after the period is over?
This year question, do you have this year question? I guess they ask. They ask GS का question. कई साल से कोशिश कर रहे हैं जीएस पेपर सेकंड में पूछने के लिए, बट जगह नहीं मिल रहा है, इसलिए कि वहाँ 20 क्वेश्चन ही होता है, 21 नहीं। बस तो वैसे भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है। पता है कि रिक्रूटमेंट इसी पार्ट के अंदर ही होता है, लिखने की क्या जरूरत है। बस एग्जामिन lateral entry recruitment, simple question, isn't it? पता नहीं क्या लिखना है बच्चे को, simple means this recruitment in government in context of part 14th of the Indian Constitution. This, so that level of very basic question they can ask. If you see on lateral entry, once more, I think 3 times they have asked question. So yes, it is apprehended that lateral entry will lead to politicization of bureaucracy. इसमें कोई doubt नहीं. Do you agree? Yes, agree completely. Justify, don't justify. This. How it will result into politicization? Obvious questions they have asked, right? No. Is there chance of politicization? A spoiled system. How is spoiled system when UPSC recruits? When UPSC recruits, so how or why there can be spoiled system?
The politicization of appointments and the contractual biasness.
So difficult question if you talk theoretically, simple question if you talk abstract way, generic way. Because recruitment is done by UPS. So we have got 3 questions on that. Largely you know that key questions. So 2 questions are related to problems also, accountability problem, politicization problem. So that you have to know that key how it is. Although yes, you are aware since it is a current development that way. And so let's know about lateral entry. What is this all about? So there can be various aspects of lateral entry, like as of now it has been discontinued. So how to make it a successful reform? Other alternatives to promote expertise in civil services. Concluding observation, what we should tell towards end of after all these things. So when we say lateral entry, so there are two types of lateral entry you should know. One is general, other is specific. General, it can be considered ad hoc, temporary, or simple, let's say ad hoc. Ad hoc means it can be, let's say that as short as 1 month, 6 months, like this, or 1 year, whatever you can say this. This is as old as independence. So this type of lateral entry we had. It can be for largely, let's say, non-civil services positions. One month, 6 month, or let's say that we'll tell that like regulatory bodies. This PMO, this Planning Commission, now Niti Aayog. This. So those who are appointed to that, either for short duration or it can be 1 year, 2 years, whatever you can consider. So that kind of lateral entry already we have. This, even let's say that private secretary, there used to be private secretary, that economic advisor. This, even in government, you'll find this, those who are appointed like private secretary, economic advisor, so that's also practice of lateral entry. Like say ki Manmohan Singh was RBI governor. This, so being RBI governor, they brought outside. So that kind of lateral entry practice we can find in past, and it is not in pure sense lateral entry, because it has nothing to do with civil service positions that you have now decided. As of now, let's say when you have lateral entry, this lateral entry is introduced as of now since 2018, and this lateral entry is related to civil services. This civil services, let's say their positions, like joint secretary above. This, as we have a career system, so this joint secretary we can have, additional secretary we can have, secretary we can have. That is a career system. It is a career system, and career civil servants, those who join civil service, they can only hold positions. Lateral entrants are not allowed. This, so above this means joint secretary and above level positions we have, it can be also director, etc. So these are civil services positions, and it is career system. You know, career bureaucracy, we say that, or bureaucracy we can say that. So career bureaucracy, like say you join, and once you become senior, you, let's say, hold those positions. Outsiders are not allowed in this. For the first time, government has decided since 2018 that these positions will be also open for outsider, and that's also for selected positions. Means they will decide some of the selected positions, and for which let's see, largely they will be non-core areas. Non-core areas. Non-core areas means, let's say, they will not recruit in those areas which are related to security and stability of the country. This is like a defense you can say, law and order you can say. So those ministries which deal with defense related matters, security related matters, administration, pure administration related matters, there will not be recruited. Lateral entry. Lateral entry will happen only in those areas which are non-core. At the same time, they demand greater expertise. It can be, let's say, cyber security, it can be civil aviation, it can be trade, commerce, renewable energy, etc., etc. This. So those areas which demand, let's say, expertise, and they are not also related to security of the country, sovereign function, remember. Civil servants perform sovereign function. So they are largely in non-sovereign areas. This. And there, let's say, government has areas which demand expertise. This. So this difference you should understand, otherwise people don't understand it. और फिर जो लिखना शुरू करते हैं, आपको पता है कि लेटरल एंट्री दिस दैट आरबीआई गवर्नर, उसको पता ही नहीं है कि ये लेटरल एंट्री नहीं होता है. A civil servant is not supposed to be our RBI governor. You have to understand that what are civil services positions or what are non-civil services positions. The civil servant is not, a career civil servant is not expected to serve as, let's say, a member of any regulatory institution. This, because regulatory institutions were created after, let's say, in the liberalization era, and they are not supposed to be member. It has nothing to do. Their hierarchy is like this, then becoming cabinet secretary. Even hierarchy in PMO is also not counted. PMO is also, it has lateral entry, let's practices. It has brought market experts and others as per what Prime Minister can think better. So these things, let's say, Deputy Chairman of Planning Commission or Vice President of Niti Aayog, he is not supposed to be IAS, or he is not supposed to be a civil servant. This, because they were not part of career civil service. This you have to understand. Otherwise, इतना रोना धोने क्यों लगेगा, मतलब सॉरी टू से दैट, मीन्स कितना ज़्यादा क्रिटिसिज्म लेटरल एंट्री का क्यों होगा. लेटरल एंट्री तो इंडिपेंडेंट से चल रहा है, तो ये अभी क्यों क्वेश्चन आएगा कि लेटरल एंट्री विल रिजल्ट इनटू पॉलिटिसाइजेशन ऑफ ब्यूरोक्रेसी. ये तो पहले भी क्वेश्चन आना चाहिए. दिस, सो दिस इज व्हाट, व्हेन यू हैव टू राइट, you can just give a reference that ki lateral entry, like in general, has been in practice, but in actual, let's say that ki practice, if you talk as far as civil services are concerned, so first time we have introduced since 2018, and it has its own system, you know, that which will talk the process, etc., that ki how it has been introduced. So this is how, as we have told, while comparing program staffing of US and career bureaucracy, position classification of US and rank classification. It is based on rank classification. Once you are recruited, then you have a career span of 25-30 years, and that is how you serve to those higher positions. So it has its own advantages, disadvantages. Already many things you know on that aspect. This distinction we have to understand, that what is in general lateral entry, which is not in pure sense lateral entry, and what is in pure sense lateral entry for civil services. This. So since 2018 we decided the process is, let's, if you talk a bit of process. So it is notified, basically eligibility is that anyone who should have 15 years of experience, let's say that. So those who have at least minimum 15 years of working experience in any field, they are made eligible, although eligibility criteria will keep changing. This. But lateral entry does not mean that you can recruit a Delhi School of Economic graduate as joint secretary. This. Even lateral entrants should also have some working experience in their industry, let's say that. So they should have, let's say, minimum, this is how, experience. This. And then they apply to UPSC. UPSC is the recruitment agency. advertise, it will give advertisement, etc. Though you know that applications will be applied to UPSC as per that advertisement, and it is the recruitment agency. That's why the question was asked that part 14 of the Constitution. So UPSC is the recruitment agency. It will recruit as it is its main role. It recruits this. Once recruitment happens, then let's say 15 days of training given. Days of training given by IIPA. This. So they will be made familiar if person has not lived in India entirely in California, so he will be made aware about Delhi. देखो Delhi में ये सारा चीज है, isn't it? This. So 15 days of training they are given. Then once they are given training, then they will be recruited for 3 years. This plus let's say 2 years. So initially they will be recruited for 3 years. If service is found satisfactory, then it can be extended to next 2 years. So basically let's say that they are recruited for 5 years. This. So there is a system, you know that. There is a system we have introduced for lateral entry, but RBI गवर्नर किसी को अपॉइंट करना है तो उसके लिए कोई सिस्टम नहीं है. The SEBI chairperson you have to appoint, you don't have a system for that. You don't have a defined pattern for that. But for this, you have a defined pattern. So SEBI chairperson is appointed by the government, and it is the cabinet committee of appointment that takes the decision. UPSC has no role in that. It can, if inputs they want to seek, so it can provide. But UPSC does not have role in appointment of RBI governor, SEBI governor, SEBI chairperson. But here what you find that there is a system of recruitment, training, and then let's say that 5 years they will be appointed for 5 years. So it will be different from what lateral entry we had in past. This. Then so far experience, if you talk process, or if write plus experience, so experience is that in 2018 we went for 10 positions recruitment. Then let's say that 2019 20 we went for 30 positions recruitment, and then again in 2021-22 years, maybe here and there, that's not, we went for 40 positions recruitment. Less. But total as of now, according to Times of India report, total we had 65 recruitments. This total means even if positions can be more than that, if you can see that, but we did not get exact number, the 65 of which 57 are serving as of now. Times of India report. This. It means we had 80 positions almost. In that 80 positions, we have not recruited 80 positions. Rather, we have recruited almost 65, of which 57 are serving. This. Now, 10, let's say that we recruited 10, that is the initial, and in that 10, only 7 are serving. This is very micro level of factual things which will help you understand the other side challenges, etc. like this, which will talk that we can make it successful, and the challenges, let's say compatibility versus competence and accountability versus efficiency, this and that, etc. So this is what we can consider about this. Then why we want to bring lateral entry, this need for lateral entry. This. So it is very clear, isn't it? Need, you can say need for, and both advantages, both will be same. The points if you write in advantages, etc. So whether you talk need for that or advantages, so I think hardly there will be difference. So first we say as expertise. We need to promote expertise, specialization, isn't it? So expertise and specialization, because civil services are known for generalist. Right. So we say them as generalist. Then next, this. So we need to promote competition. The competitive, let's say that case spirit, result orientation, or let's talk only competition. And generally, civil services are known for complacency. Now, once you get absolute job security, once you get recruited, that is how we say that even God cannot remove this kind of thing. The complacency, let's say, complacency comes. This. The complacency and competition, it will happen. Then next, innovation. We can use their question term, isn't it? Freshness. This. Here we can have, we have more of status quo. Do we have any other term?
Sir, professionalism.
Yes.
Professionalism, sir.
Yes. The professional competence. This. So we told you about managerial. If you remember, managerial ethos. We want to bring this result orientation, business like. So basically, it's also about Wilsonian business like, isn't it? This business like. Then need, etc. we talk also. Address shortage of IAS. This will not be advantage, isn't it? Objectives. So whether you have to write objectives or advantages or need for that, more or less same points, means similar points will come. Certainly when we talk needs, so let's say there can be one aspect addressing shortage of IAS, because we have shortage of IAS. Government has shortage like over 1500 IAS officers shortage. This. So lateral entry was also one such strategy to address shortage of IAS officers. This. Anyhow, that's why let's say we will talk towards end whether it is able to address the shortage type of thing. This. So these things, let's say that why these things are needed, by the way. Why we need these things?
For good governance, sir.
Basically after 1980s and 1990s.
Yes, so that is how you should. Being a public administration means on optional side you can write these things. In GS you can be a bit sensitive to avoid writing NPM type things. Although you can write general things also in GS. At all, we have been expecting a question in GS paper second. Just a matter of time when they will ask. So this called LPG, You can talk new public management in that aspect. Then e-governance, right? ICT. Now we have artificial intelligence, this aspect. Next, what we can write? It's PPP, let's write specialized regulation. This so specialized regulation. Then we can have this called governance, cyber security, innovations. This so this basically, let's say we have so today any such sector you talk, whether it is related to information communication technology or not, it does not matter. Anything, let's say direct benefit transfer, even at implementation level also will find that implementation level also will find that how let's say implementation has become more tech savvy type, tech driven you can consider. The be it policy making, policy adjudication, policy regulation, and policy implementation, all these things today demand, yes, it is fourth industrial revolution. So you know that it is more of technology oriented. Everything has become technology oriented. And if you find bureaucracy or even administration, so they are highly, let's say that if you compare their level of skill, knowledge, expertise, so you know that how there will be skill gap, skill shortage. This, so these things are, let's say, the factors which we are trying to promote. That is how we can talk about the background aspect of lateral entry. Then other challenges we'll talk. So I will just give a brief, we will not go in detail dictation, just I will give a summary of this. Then let's write on this. Lateral entry as a radical reform. Lateral entry as a radical reform was introduced in India in 2018 to address journalistic nature of Indian bureaucracy and promote expertise and professional outlook to tackle challenges of governance, faced by Indian administration in the era of fourth industrial revolution. In the era of fourth industrial revolution. Chanpag. although reform commissions recommended about lateral entry, like ARC first, ARC second, seventh pay commission, and also by a group of secretaries, that is, this reform could have happened in 1980s and 90s. Since new public management LPG demanded managerial ethos in place of bureaucratic ethos. There cannot be innovations without an administration having professional outlook. Hence, lateral entry was a much needed reform. Much needed reform, which also demanded political will. Next, its process needs, advantages, and implementation status are as mentioned above. That first, UPSC is the recruitment agency. I will tell in briefest way. UPSC is the recruitment agency. Next, IIPA provides training for 15 days. Recruitment is done for 3 + 2 years. Next, so far, three times recruitment has been completed. The recruitment has been done. Next, there are over 57 lateral entrants. Serving to government in different capacities. This 10th paragraph. Since Indian bureaucracy or any career bureaucracy based on Max Bavarian model suffers from problems like Peter principle, Parkinson's law, Peter principles, Parkinson's law, Parkinson's, bureaupathology, budget maximization, and as per Indian ecology, salocracy in bureaucracy with colonial outlook, such type of bureaucracy becomes highly incompatible in governance paradigm of public administration. Especially since 1990s. Okay. Like all the four important roles of administration. First, policy formulation. Next, policy adjudication. Next, policy regulation. Next, policy implementation. Demand, expertise and professional outlook. These problems to some extent can be addressed through lateral entry. So that is what we can talk about this. Then next we'll talk is advantages, we know, like let's write about this. Next, disadvantages. In bracket also problems posed by lateral entry. Disadvantages are related to criticisms of new public management. LPG and public choice approach. That is, first, this managerialism is given preference over loyalty and commitment, loyalty and commitment of Max Weberian bureaucracy, Max Weberian bureaucracy, X shorter tenure, short-term tenure, 3 to 5 years, which can promote ad hocism, which can promote ad hocism, ad hocism. Next, conflict of interest, conflict of interest, that lateral entrants will belong to corporate sector, will belong to corporate sector, and after 3 to 5 years they will go back to corporate sector, corporate sector. That poses risk of conflict of interest. In bracket, partisan behavior, partisan behavior to promote bureau shaping, bureau shaping, bureau shaping. Like present SEBI chairperson, example is a sort of regulatory capture, regulatory capture. In bracket, as per conduct rules, as per conduct rules, a civil servant after retirement, a civil servant after retirement cannot take up any commercial job for 1 year, for 1 year. But this does not apply to lateral entrants, lateral entrants. This, you know that case, Madhvi Buch, first time you know that case, she was appointed as SEBI chairperson. Before that, she was serving in private sector. When she was serving, it is very obvious that people you derive in lateral entry, largely they will be from corporate sector. कहीं ना कहीं वो जॉब तो कर रहा होगा ना, तो प्राइवेट कंपनी ही होगी. So when they are serving a private company and then they come to serve government, so whether they are serving government or they are trying to promote their bureau shaping, means they are trying to promote their personal interest, it depends on them. Yes, they can favor a company, they can pass information, they can share so many things, that having government experience, and they can go and join, they can favor a company and they can after serve, they know that 3 to 5 years they have to serve. After serving 3 to 5 years, they know that they have to go back to corporate sector. When they have to go back to corporate sectors, they can promote companies in such a way, direct, indirect, that after 5 years they are hired by that company. So why you have this kind of, let's say, this is how it is being said, you for civil servants, there is 1 year cooling off period. After retirement, you cannot take up any commercial employment for 1 year. Why it has been done? So suppose you are a secretary and you have taken a decision, that decision may go to favor of a company, and then after retirement you can be hired by that company. This. To avoid that kind of thing, that is how 1 year cooling off period has been brought. This. So there can be conflict of interest, and this they may promote their own interest rather than promoting government. अभी तो मान लो लिमिटेड नंबर्स हैं, मान लो कि देर आर जस्ट 57 such lateral entrants, so it is not difficult to manage. But if you increase the number, let's say that, then what happens? So that can be, let's say, and the way it has happened, let's say she is chairperson of SEBI and she had already worked and she has shares also. How can you appoint a person who has already shares in the company and she becomes the chairperson of a regulator? This. And if at all she becomes chairperson, so whether these facts were disclosed before appointment? This. So that way, so should we appoint a person who has already shares in a particular company, who is listed company also? This. All these things, let's say, a matter of future, matter of past, whatever you deal with. That's why regulatory capture it happens. Next point. Accountability problem. Accountability problem. NPS highlighted accountability is not simple. NPS highlighted accountability is not simple. Simple. Lateral entry promotes, within that, lateral entry promotes performance accountability. Performance accountability of new public management. Relegating democratic accountability. Relegating democratic accountability. Relegating democratic accountability. Basically, NPS we have not taught you, so one day we'll teach NPS. NPS is post-NPM model, a critique to new public management. NPS has highlighted that accountability is not simple. So one day we'll tell you how accountability is not simple when we'll teach also, let's say. What it is doing is, so what problems we face, already you know, since public administration you write, you can easily relate by NPM, etc., etc. In GS it will be a bit challenging. So already you know about performance accountability and democratic accountability, this aspect. But let's take even in performance accountability, क्या होता है? So you may have seen many things in, let's say that in PPP projects also we talked, in PPP also. Someone has been hired for 3 years and he does any activities. Any decision taken? This, you take any decision? Or largely they work on projects. You should know that. They largely become project head they are made. Related to all those technology related, innovation related, Gati Shakti you can find. So different types of projects are there. They are given, let's say on that project they will be made head of that project. Mission head जिसको बोलते हैं, mission director जिसको बोलते हैं. Now you work on the project for 3 years. Project is implemented, but when you come to know that project has failed, you come to know after 5-10 years. This. Many projects, they come to, let's say that, so failure of the project happens after 5-10 years. This, but person work only for 3 years. Even if let's suppose that they are not having vested interest, there is no conflict of interest, they are working properly, but once let's say that ki they are project head, so when project head they are, so after 3 years they can be in private industry here and there. Will you uphold accountability after that? Not at all. Yes. Then उसके लिए आपको कंडक्ट रूल्स लाना पड़ेगा, और कंडक्ट रूल्स लाओगे तो वो ज्वाइन नहीं करेंगे. This और सिविल सर्वेंट कंडक्ट रूल्स, इवन यू रिटायर स्टिल वो तो ब्यूरियल से भी आपको लेके आ जाएंगे. This सर सो सिविल सर्वेंट्स सिविल सर्वेंट्स के लिए रूल है कि रिटायरमेंट के बाद एससी गुप्ता यू नो दैट एससी गुप्ता रिटायर्ड, लेट्स से कि रिटायर्ड, एंड आफ्टर रिटायरमेंट लेट्स से क्या है उसको जेल में डाल दिया. सो द क्वेश्चन इज राइट. Avnindra, he was auditor in Uttar Pradesh from Indian Accounts and Audit Service. I keep sharing his some of the things. तो he shared कि कैसे इस बोला कि ये तो बिल्कुल करप्ट प्रैक्टिस है. He knows public adoptional, तो he knows new public management, he knows PPP, and he knows about this. So he shared one thing that कि what happens basically. So in Uttar Pradesh, you know that कि medicine, Uttar Pradesh Medicine Corporation. This we told you that time while teaching NPM कि there is Tamil Nadu Medicine Corporation. So Tamil Nadu brought agencyfication model. So it created Tamil Nadu Medicine Corporation. Its head is CEO. It tried to work on NPM model. It was a successful initiative in Tamil Nadu. This on the pattern of Tamil Nadu successful initiative, UP, Kerala, most of the states now have this medicine corporation. इनका task ये है कि they have to ensure that there is a proper adequate supply of medicine in the state. This the stocking, supply, this that they deal with. So इसी में स्कैम हुआ उत्तर प्रदेश में, हालांकि कम पैसे का है वो, 2.8 करोड़ का स्कैम होता है. This so he told that कि those who headed this, the person who headed through lateral entry on medicine corporation, now he is no longer serving. Right. Scam is related to his tenure, let's say 2-3 years back, 5 years back. Now after 5 years he is nowhere. Right. So this is how retrospectively how you will punish them when they have taken decision. But when you are in civil service, so you are posted here and there. When you are posted here and there, even you are retired, let's say that, still there is, let's say the government has its own conduct rules, and under that conduct rules, it can deal against that kind of practice. So this is what we will find, that ki lateral entry it is happening, that ki lack of accountability in the sense that ki when you hire for 3 years, and then if anything, let's say they have taken decision, that decision flaw we come to know later on, it is difficult to uphold accountability. This accountability is still related to performance accountability. Next accountability is democratic accountability. So democratic accountability is that related to, let's say that if you talk the way we say this, so democratic accountability is related to not only performance, but whether that performance is anyway helpful to the society. Yes. Is it helping to the society? Or you are performing for the sake of, let's say, shaping your career rather than benefiting society? Is it benefiting society? So that is how NPS talks, that value people, not productivity. This NPS has 7 principles. So one is that value people, not productivity. This. So there it means basically, let's say there is challenge how to uphold accountability, because accountability system is not clearly defined. This at the same time, public servants, those who are serving to public service like you, for you there is a very different approach, harsh approach, and for them there is a very soft approach. Right. They work on the principle of ease of doing business. This. So why there should be such dual standard? Why there should be this dual standard? This. So that way, but that is a different problem. So let's write on this further. It has been reported. It has been reported that how lateral entrants work as project director, and if project fails, government will come to know only after few years or even 5-10 years. But there is no system of upholding post facto accountability of lateral entrants. At the same paragraph, at the same time, accountability is more related to performance rather than creation of values. That whether their performance serves to society. In bracket NPS, that's why NPS talks about value people, not productivity. NPS talks about value people, not productivity. Next. Next criticism will talk disadvantages. We are talking disadvantages. This, it is said that whether 15 days of training it can be equal to 15-20 years of experience. 15-20 years of experience in Indian administration. That is, lateral entrants do not have experience of Indian administration. They have worked in corporate sector. They may have also not lived in. They may not have also lived in India. Therefore, whether their expertise expertise will have utility. Will have utility in Indian context. Indian context. In bracket, ecological versus non-ecological approach. Ecological versus non-ecological approach. Non-ecological approach. This, let's say that many a time I talk sarcastically, at times you can feel hurt also. That's very different thing. But it is true. You should know that. Let's say you are UP government education secretary. An entire life means you are not part of Uttar Pradesh. This. So you will not understand, you will not have a feel factor of problems of education in Uttar Pradesh. Rather, you will have whatever you have studied. The Indian education problem, this and that. Not what exactly Uttar Pradesh has. This. So that happens even if you are part of Indian administration. But suppose lateral entrants, who are lateral entrants? So whether they have lived in India, how many years they have lived in India? Because lateral entrants will be largely, you know that, as we have, they belong to corporate sector, they have corporate sector experience, private sector experience. Those who do not have private sector experience, those who do not have government sector experience, private sector, they know very little about Indian administration, its problems, its challenges. Right. You can tell, many times we criticize you, but we will tell you once we will teach law and order कि पुलिस का क्या प्रॉब्लम है. आप पुलिस को क्रिटिसाइज कर सकते हो, लेकिन पुलिस के भी अपने प्रॉब्लम है. उसी तरह से हर डिपार्टमेंट का भी अपना प्रॉब्लम है. There are two sides. One side we criticize because they are inefficient, but the other side is why they are inefficient. That also we have to know. This. So that we do not know, that we do not respect. So if you do not respect why there is inefficiency, then you will not have a right view to solve the problem. Rather you will develop why if Indian bureaucracy is generalistic, Indian bureaucracy this and that, so why it is. Bureaucracy अपने आप तो हो नहीं गई. There will be causative factors. So will they appreciate it? So just 15 days of training by IIPA and then having experience of corporate sector, will they be compatible? Will they be able to understand the problems and let's say help solve those problems? Yes, that has also been questioned. This. So let's write next. risk of promotion of spoil system, doctrine of committed bureaucracy, and reintroduction of elitism in bureaucracy. That's even if within that, even if recruitment happens through UPSC, but the pool of applicants will be related to an elite category, and there is criticism of political influence even if recruitment is done by UPSC, even if recruitment is done by UPSC, UPSC, okay. there is already perception, perception that lateral entry is about bringing children of senior bureaucrats in civil services through a backdoor channel. तो ये ऑलरेडी परसेप्शन है, यू शुड नो दैट. आई थिंक सन्याल, क्या नाम है, चीफ इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजर संजीव सन्याल. तो ही टोल्ड दैट कि व्हाई यू वेस्ट टाइम इन सिविल सर्विस प्रिपरेशन, दिस दैट. So he is through lateral entry, you know that. Lateral entry in the sense कि he is the economic advisor. He is let's say कि son of ex senior bureaucrat etc. तो ऑलरेडी ये परसेप्शन है. तो किसी से हमारी बात हो रही थी, तो उसने बोला कि वो इसीलिए बोल रहा है कि वो बेसिकली वो चाहते हैं कि लेटरल एंट्री हो. दे वांट दैट कि देयर शुड बी मोर एंड मोर lateral entry. This it is a bring, let's say, who will let's say ki have service in corporate sector. Corporate sector में कौन जाएगा? Corporate sector में जाने वाला भी largely लोग will be from a better off family. This largely there will be from better off family. मेरा sarcastically अगर मानोगे तो वो ऐसे है. तो बेसिकली लेट्स से दैट कि लेटरल एंट्रेंस, दीज ऑल सो कॉल्ड एक्सपर्ट किसको बोलते हैं. तो यू लेट्स से दैट कि दोज हु पीपल दे नो दैट कि उनको कैट क्वालिफाई करना है, दे कैन नॉट अफोर्ड टू दैट सर्टेन लैक्स ऑफ फीस एंड दैट एटसेट्रा. तो दे प्रिपेयर फॉर कैट. 2 years, 3 years, जितना भी टाइम लग जाए, they prepare for CAT. Rich class people, they don't prepare for CAT. By the time you will prepare for CAT, that person will complete MBA from California. Since parents have money and all these things they can arrange, isn't it? So by the time you prepare CAT, he has done MBA. Now नाम भी हो गया, MBA from California. This. So this way. अभी आप यहाँ स्ट्रगल कर रहे हो क्या, कैट. This. उसके लिए पढ़ना पड़ता है. पढ़ेगा कौन? पढ़ने के लिए बैठना पड़ता है 4 घंटे 6 घंटे, isn't it? फोन बंद करके कौन करेगा? रिच क्लास के लोग तो नहीं करेंगे जब तक कि अंदर से अर्ज नहीं है, isn't it? Anyhow, that is what you know that कि सिविल सर्विस का प्रिपरेशन कौन करेगा? या तो उसके अंदर ये और जो एक या लेट्स से दैट कि you know this. तो इस ओल्ड राजेंद्र नगर में isn't it? जो चाय एक बार सुबह चढ़ जाता है तो शाम तक चलता रहता है, ठीक है. बस उसमें चाय पत्ती और अदरक डालते रहो. This is how it is. So that is what you'll find. Right. So the question is, so largely you should know this, right? So rich class people and elite class people, it's not like that, but just take in it that sarcastically, right? So they can do. So they can do by the time you do from government, they can do their BTech, they can do their MBA from any private institution because money they have, it's reference they have, source they have, all sort of things they have. This. So that we will find. And that is how, let's say, we have still that kind of aura, let's say, कि वो foreign से करके आया है. भले वहाँ से वो किसी C grade का भी कॉलेज से किया हो, right? But वो पढ़ के आया है, foreign. This. So that is what you have the foreign tag. This. And so whether the person has expertise or not, there is quite possibility that there can be influence. Influence in the sense, let's say, those who apply, the pool of applicants. The pool of applicants, 15 years of experience in working in corporate sector, and then let's say that your expertise, you know that corporate sector has, let's say, it's a reference system. आपका अपॉइंटमेंट भी रेफरेंस सिस्टम से होता है. एक कम टैलेंटेड पर्सन, देखो हमारे सोसाइटी में अभी भी ये है कि अगर आप इंग्लिश बोलते हैं तो इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन है, भले वो डफर ही है, सॉरी टू से दैट. यस, अगर आप बहुत अच्छा इंग्लिश बोलते हैं तो इसका मतलब आप बहुत ही इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन है. दिस, ये एक मिसपरसेप्शन है सोसाइटी में, जबकि वो बहुत ही डफर हो सकता है. दिस इसलिए कि उसका इंग्लिश बोलने से वो तो लैंग्वेज कॉम्पिटेंसी है ना, स्किल कॉम्पिटेंसी नहीं है. बट सिंस मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल कैन नॉट स्पीक इंग्लिश इन आवर कंट्री, सो दे आर नॉट कंसिडर इंटेलिजेंट इफ दे स्पीक इन टूटी फूटी लैंग्वेज. यू नो दैट दिस, दे स्ट्रगल टू स्पीक, लेट्स से दैट. बट लैंग्वेज इज वन थिंग, skill competency is another thing. This, so that we do not distinguish. And since such people can speak, you know that they can speak even faster than UPSC chairperson, जानते, ताकि उसको समझ में नहीं है क्या बोल दिया. Right. So the question, this is how you see it, right? So, and India, right, we struggle because our culture is not, let's say, very few people have this, let's say, advantage or that kind of benefit in our society they have. Most of the people come from different, let's say, society. And just imagine that, that the person who is born in that family, and that person has learned only one language, since parents also speak, he or she also speaks that. बट एक ऑर्डिनरी फैमिली का जो बच्चा होता है, जो अगर ट्राइबल एरिया का है या रूरल एरिया का है, तो 3 लैंग्वेजेज जो बोलने के सीखता है. दिस, एक तो उसका घर का लैंग्वेज जो लोकल डायलेक्टिक होता है, फिर एक जो होता है प्रॉपर हिंदी बोलना सीखना शुरू करता है. दिस, वो भी नहीं सीख पाता है, उसके बाद वो फिर इंग्लिश बोलना सीखना शुरू करता है. सो उसका, लेट्स से, कि चैलेंज अलग है. लेकिन द पर्सन हु इज बॉर्न इन सच ए फैमिली दैट देयर इज ओनली वन लैंग्वेज एंड पेरेंट्स आर आल्सो कॉम्पिटेंट, एंड दैट पर्सन, चाइल्ड विल आल्सो ऑटोमेटिकली बिकम दैट कॉम्पिटेंट. द चाइल्ड इज नॉट गोइंग टू फेस दैट चैलेंज. सो दिस fact or this reality you do not recognize or understand, and that is how our society is. Anyhow, so lateral entry can bring elitism. So once again elitism, because these people will be largely from higher, let's say, the strata of society, and then political influence, because how internally exactly it happens. You apply, but what UPSC does? UPSC, let's say, UPSC recruitment related to lateral entry is still under, it is not still a time to scrutinize it, because just 3 such tranche of recruitment we have done. So you have to see later on that how it is able to recruit. But certainly, let's say, there is lack of transparency in recruitment process. On what basis you consider a particular person competent? This. In case of prelims, mains and interview, you have 3 stages of examination. So there is a way to test merit, but there you don't have written examination. You just see the market, let's say experience of 15 years, you conduct interview, and then you select them. This. So there can be chance, and that is how I generally say sarcastically that okay, if you don't qualify civil service examination, so do not take tension. Yes. Meanwhile, you go California or do MBA, right? Get 15 years of experience and apply directly for joint secretary. This तो मोटिवेशन बना रहना चाहिए. This only to favor that your favorable government comes to power or favorable minister. This. Anyhow, but these are still perceptual aspect. We can talk. Still, we do not have empirical basis to tell. This is just perceptual aspect. There can be empirical basis will come only when in future we come to know any such kind of exposure happens, how favor was given, or how let's say that elitism. Certainly, it will come in future. Then you will talk empirically. This you can say. That is how we can talk on this aspect. Let's write next. Next is called stability order. Stability order versus change. Stability order versus change. That's change is also important. Change is also important. That is, lateral entries should be introduced. Lateral entries should be introduced, but at the same time, the role of bureaucracy remains important. Role of bureaucracy remains important for maintaining stability and order. Stability and order. Basically, you should know that lateral entry is, since short tenure it will bring ad hocism, but it cannot be completely suitable. Let's say in bracket you can write, since India is still a transitional society. India is still a transitional society. Transitional society. The scope of lateral entry will remain limited. The scope of lateral entry will remain limited. Next, insider versus outsider. Insider versus outsider. Outsider. That is compatibility problem. Compatibility problem. It is being argued that whether there will be compatibility between career civil servants and lateral entrants. The experience shows that when in 2018, 10 positions were open for recruitment. One did not join. One did not join. One did not continue after 3 years. And one has resigned. One has resigned. In bracket, Amber Dubey. Basically, Amber Dubey resigned. Should know that. The 10 positions हमने recruit किया, तो 10 position में you have as of now 7. So one did not join. After selection, one did not join. This. Why did not join? So that's different thing. One did not want to continue after 3 years. उसको सब पता चल गया हो गया, बहुत हो गया. So this, and one resigned. Right? Why one resigned? ये भी जानोगे तो आपको तो उसको अपने व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में शामिल नहीं किया. Insider, outsider. Yes, it is. This outsider tag, hostile IAS lobby to blame. This. So Amber Dubey, I guess, yes, Amber Dubey. इन्होंने बोला है this is what? WhatsApp group. Towards lateral entrance, means laterals, and we were always treated as outsider. We are not part of the IAS WhatsApp groups, and many of us are not even invited to their social gatherings and parties. This औकात में रहना. This, तो उनको बोला जाता है कि this, this, तो ट्रेनिंग में ही बता दिया जाता है कि औकात में रहना. This. So this kind of, let's say that की attitude that you have, तो कोई आएगा नहीं. मतलब इस तरह से हर आदमी को dignity, let's say that कि you need to have at least your own self dignity. Yes. So there is a challenge, whether it will be successful, whether it is successful not, you have to make it successful. This. So this is what you will find, this insider and outsider compatibility challenge. This. So I have just talked all problems in disadvantages. This you should know that. Not category wise. Those all problems will find this. Then we can talk, let's say one by one that issue. So let's write on this. Change the paragraph. Therefore, even if lateral entry reform is necessity, but there are challenges that will it be successful reform? will it be successful reform? Reform. Not all lateral entrants can be considered to have needed expertise and efficiency, experience, and knowledge about their domains. Right. Many questions are asked about compatibility and competence of lateral entrants. Like first, are they more competent? Are they more competent than IAS? Are they more competent than IAS? Next, whether it can address shortage of IAS. Next, forgot some questions. Shortage of.
Generally stated.
Yes, next. Whether IAS can become more competent than lateral entrants if they are also given autonomy and preference similar to lateral entrants. Next, why expertise should be promoted? Only from outside not from inside. Not from inside. Next. The field of public administration has experienced. The field of public administration has experienced failure of new public management and emergence of post-NPM models. Post-NPM models. Right. In this context, whether reforms take into consideration such developments. Such developments. Next. Past experience in US, Pakistan, even in India, shows that those who are brought from corporate sector were not necessarily successful. Like Rusi Modi from Tata was brought to Air India, but he was not successful. In bracket, in Pakistan in 1973, lateral entry was introduced, but it was withdrawn by 1979. Right? So these things are some questions, let's say that, when we talk. So it is not necessary that when you have lateral entries, so lateral entrants are going to be as successful as we desire, let's say, we hope. It is not necessary. Are they more competent than IAS officers? Can we say that they are competent? Because they should be more competent than IAS officers. This is first. If they are not competent than IAS officers, then why we are recruiting them? And can they become competent than IAS officers? This we have to understand. We have, let's say, lots of criticism to IAS officers, but if you see IAS, let's say, they have given certain length of their preparation time, then training time, then 15-20 years of experience holding different positions. They are not less competent. We are just trying to underestimate IAS. We are not trying to recognize them. We are not trying to promote them. Let's say that you are giving them complete autonomy. You are a project director, you have a complete autonomy. Have you ever given an IAS officer complete autonomy? तो फिर वो क्या सोचेगा? मतलब हम we have come in this field because of their interest. You have interest, गवर्नमेंट ने तो फोर्स करके बुलाया नहीं है. You have interest, you want to make career in field of civil service, you have joined it, and आपको कभी उन्होंने freedom दिया नहीं. You are being taken for granted. आप फील्ड में जा रहे हो, आप कहीं भी फील्ड में पोस्टिंग करा दो, एनीवेयर यू पोस्ट यू दिस. तो आप फील्ड पोस्टिंग, लेट्स से दैट फ्रॉम कालाहांडी टू व्हाटएवर यू कैन कंसीडर, एनीवेयर यू आर रेडी टू सर्व दिस. बट जब टाइम आता है, मान लो कि सर्विंग एट मिडिल लेवल, तो नहीं, कैलिफोर्निया वाले आ गए दिस. तो आपको क्या है फिर, यू आर सुटेबल टू सर्व ओनली फील्ड लेवल, हार्श कंडीशंस. मतलब प्रॉब्लम आप झेलो. सो ये तो उस तरह की बात हो गई ना. जब प्रॉब्लम्स आएगा तो आप हैं. एंड देन लेट्स से कि व्हेन यू हैव टू गिव देम ऑटोनॉमी एटसेट्रा, इट सीम्स लाइक दैट. So this is how question is asked, that are you competent, means whether that person, because they can have several success story in that 15-20 years, you have not written it. They can have several things they may have done, you have not written. But a person working in corporate sector, कुछ भी वो बोलते करते हैं, उसका रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन होता है. परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल, ये किया वो किया, और फिर 15 इयर्स में इतना बड़ा लिस्ट बना दोगे कि उसने इतना सारा काम किया. और एक आईएएस जो है वो डे 1 से करना शुरू करता है, बहुत सारे वर्क करता है, देयर इज नो एनी रिकॉर्ड दिस. एंड देन यू थिंक दैट कि हिज सीवी इज वेरी, बहुत सारा काम किया है. तो मेनी प्रॉब्लम्स यू सॉल्व टू सॉल्व ऑफ दैट सोसाइटी विदाउट गेटिंग रिकग्नाइज्ड. That is how question is, are they competent? This, if they are not competent, so that is also a challenge. Next question we have talked is next problem is shortage. We'll talk separately on that shortage. Next is, yes, but that is how you know that the IAS, let's say it has told that, even IAS association has told, I already have shared that what IAS association says on that. This next question is yes, ये भी एक लॉफबल मैटर है, ग्लोरिफिकेशन. अभी जर्नलिस्ट स्पेशलिस्ट वाला टॉपिक विल टेक इट, यू नो दैट. जो स्पेशलिस्ट वाले हैं बेचारे, उनको कोई पूछता नहीं है. सॉरी टू से दिस. आपको रिक्रूट किया इंडियन इकोनॉमिक सर्विस, कहाँ से पढ़ा है? दिल्ली स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स, और उसका प्रमोशन ही नहीं होता है. दिस, वो कॉम्पिटेंट पर्सन है बट उसका प्रमोशन नहीं होता है. हैव यू एवर हर्ड इंडियन इकोनॉमिक सर्विस वाला को सेक्रेटरी बना दिया? नेवर. दिस, तो ये एलिटिज्म ही तो हुआ ना, कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर वाले को आप ग्लोरीफाई कर रहे हो. ही हैज वर्क इन सम प्राइवेट कंपनी, तो यू आर ग्लोरीफाइंग कि ही इज फिट फॉर दैट. बट जितने सारे आप स्पेशलाइज रिक्रूटमेंट कर रहे हो, इंजीनियरिंग सर्विस, तो कई सारे इंजीनियरिंग सर्विसेज है, फॉरेस्ट सर्विस है, उनको आप क्या समझते हो? Except IAS, most of the services are specialized. This, so why you are not promoting them? Why outsider? This, and they have grievance. They have this huge grievance that कि they are not promoted. आप चाहते हो कैग किसको बनाते हो आप? IAS. 1970 से आज तक जो कैग का हेड है वो IAS ही है. तो इंडियन अकाउंट सर्विस वाला क्या करेगा? जो इंडियन ऑडिट एंड अकाउंट सर्विस ज्वाइन करता है, उसको तो पता है कि मुझे कैग तो बनना नहीं है, तो क्या करेगा वो? बताइए. Yes.
2-3 दिन पहले का रिपोर्ट था इनको मेरी कैबिनेट सेक्रेटरी अब 66% जो है रेवेन्यू और रेलवे डिपार्टमेंट से हो गया है। आईएएस का डोमिनेंस घट रहा है मुझे ये लग रहा है।
नहीं वो तो उसका तो मजबूरी भी है, आई विल टॉक। शॉर्टेज है तो क्या करेगी गवर्नमेंट? गवर्नमेंट के पास आईएएस ही ऑफिसर नहीं है, शॉर्टेज है, डाउन साइजिंग वाला एरिया का शॉर्टेज है। प्लस वो चाहते नहीं है आईएएस जो सर्विंग टू स्टेट, दे डू नॉट वांट टू सर्व टू सेंटर। यहाँ पे मोदी जी की मार पड़ती है बेसिकली 9 to 9। उनका तो मान लीजिए कि पता ही है, मैंने बताया कि फैमिली तो है नहीं, तो ऑफिस घर है, घर ऑफिस है। राइट, तो 24/7 आवर्स वो काम करते हैं। राइट, तो ये मेड ए कल्चर ऑफ 9 to 9। सेक्रेटरी को पहले जाना होता है ऑफिस और सबसे बाद में जाना होता है ऑफिस। और आजकल फोन आप स्विच ऑफ नहीं कर सकते, फोन पिकअप करना है, बहुत सारे रूल्स गवर्नमेंट ने बना दिया है। तो जो स्टेट्स में जो लोग काम करने वाले हैं आईएएस ऑफिसर, दे डू नॉट वांट टू कम टू सेंटर, इसीलिए तो वो कैडर रूल्स उन्होंने अमेंड करने की कोशिश किया। दैट गवर्नमेंट वांटेड टू अमेंड इट सो दैट इट कैन फोर्स देम टू ज्वाइन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, but then other things happen anyhow. But still government is also, it is not only factor, other factors, see, government is giving preference to also competent people, ability to perform and integrity, that factor is also there. Multiple factors.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Sir, there was a print article which said that only 33% of joint secretary are IAS now. So the shortage of IAS is the main reason for it.
Only 33% are secret.
Yeah, only so 2 way back it was article in print.
Only 33%
Joint secretary are IAS.
joint secretaries are. Joint secretary pe, yes, it is not only due to shortage factor. Shortage is one factor, you can say. Other factor is that the government is trying to promote anyone who is competent can become joint secretary from the services, any service you can consider. So that is also one factor. Yes, so both factors we can consider, but shortage is a major factor because you know that this is how the conflicts happen between union and states. Anyhow, so this is what we were saying, this point in terms of experience. This is a big question. Although let's say we gave example, it is not necessary that those who come from private sector, they will be equally successful in government sector. This why? Because government sector faces complex environment. You know that once we told about administrators face complex environment and managers in leadership, that question was asked. The administrators will face very complex environment. This can be the complex environment is that you have to, any such project related to a particular department is not related to only that particular department, it is related to other ministries also. Yes, and then unless there is coordination with other ministries, that project will not be successful. The project execution in private sector is different and project execution in public sector is different. If Infosys has any project, it has nothing to do with TCS. The Infosys को TCS से coordination नहीं establish करना है. Yes, but in our country, let's say if any project you have to have coordination with another ministry. You have to have coordination with a state government. Yes, and largely like a state government can be of a different political party in power, and then there can be challenge. So working in government sector is different, working in private sector is different. Plus there you can have skilled staff, all that ki company can have a level of skilled staff. Here you cannot find all people as competent. This you can have a different level of skill, other members can have different level of skill. So that's why Air India was, government did an experiment. Rusi Modi, who was a successful entrepreneur in Tata Groups, he was brought to head Air India, but then it was not successful. So that we can consider. So there are challenges. This is how we'll find out how to make it successful on this Let's write on this further. Even if there are challenges, still lateral entry has become an inevitable reform. It cannot be done away with. In fact, those countries which had rank classification, including UK, have introduced lateral entry. In UK, in its secretariat, positions are held by specialists. And lateral entry has become part and parcel. Therefore, India will have to find out mechanisms to make lateral entry a successful reform. Although it cannot serve as panacea. For all the problems of Indian bureaucracy. It can be made successful. By applying features of new public service, neo-Bavarian state, and whole of the government approach, which are post NPM models, that is, lateral entry should be made compatible. With bureaucracy. It also demands a fusion process by improving interpersonal competence of both career bureaucracy and lateral entrants that demands attitudinal changes from both sides. Change paragraph. That is, the government needs to bring reforms based on theory Y matrix structure. Theory why matrix structure, so that there is more participative approach based on functional relationship between IAS and lateral entrance. Right? This is concluding observation. Other issues will deal separately basically. So it cannot become successful, let's say that, unless you try to bring in that structural changes. When they say कि औकात में रहना, तो ये किसका attitude है? It is traditional bureaucratic attitude. So you need to bring change in HR, human resource development practices. Right. Unless you bring functional type of organization. The functional means that IAS should also become professional. It does not matter who you are. This. So if you keep in mind that you are IAS and he is not IAS, so then you cannot work together. So lateral entry will not become successful unless you change the work culture, the structural side of the organization. You cannot have bureaucratic structure and you cannot introduce lateral entry in that, it will become incompatible. But what, let's say, behavioral thinkers were talking, bring, let's say, function-based authority rather than position-based authority. If you have function-based authority, there will be more network type, participative relationship. So their attitude will also change. They have already that kind of attitude. So at the same time, they should learn to take public accountability, and bureaucracy needs to be made more professional. The bureaucracy should be made more professional, and lateral entrance should be made more public, let's say that they should take more and more public accountability. So then there can be compatibility, otherwise it will be challenging to make it successful. Yes. Then someone has written that department, they are not given department, let's say, rather they are given a particular post, designated post they can, and largely they are given post like a project head, because they have to work on certain projects. Their tenure is 3 years. The 3-year tenure means they have to work on particular project. Project demands expertise and experience in market sector. Then some other small aspects are left, so let's write on this. Will it address shortage of IAS? Will it address shortage of IAS? Will it address shortage of IAS? It will not address shortage of IAS. It will not address shortage of IAS. In 5-6 years, there are recruitment for 80 positions, of which 57 are serving. Shortage, on the other hand, is much higher. It is 500 to 1500. Hence, government needs to find other alternatives. Next, alternative ways to promote specialization. First, domain expertise. domain expertise as recommended by ARC first, ARC second. Next, I got practices under Mission Karmyogi, which promotes holistic competence. Next, promoting specialists within civil services, as they have been ignored and overlooked. Next, encouraging IAS for pursuing academics, higher studies. Next, IAS Association gave an idea that if they are given chance, they can also become expert, as many of them have specialized academic background. Next, IAS should be sent for gaining experience and expertise from corporate sector for 3 to 5 years. In bracket, the government has started this practice on pilot basis. That some IAS officers have been sent to corporate sector, civil society organizations. So these are some, let's say that practices, although there is a risk of conflict of interest, this and that. How we tackle conflict of interest challenges? Professionalism. Basically, let's say that you can have all those problems, etc. What happens in Western society? That is how I'll teach in human resource development. So you can have public sector, you can have private sector. Yes. So only professionalism can, let's say, save you from many problems. In Western countries, क्या है कि वो professionalism है. There will be professional. Means when you are a professional, it does not matter कि which place you work. You will have professional commitments. Like it is professionalism that you know that कि a foreign means कि player can be made coach of your team. This On Australian, let's say that the Australian can serve as coach of Indian team. Now Indian team is playing against Australia. It is World Cup final. This the only professionalism. Let's say his heart may belong to his team. That's different thing. But his mind is working for this. So professional. Let's say that you need to promote professional culture. If you have professional culture in corporate sector, professional culture in public sector, so that ultimately will be a solution for many problems. You can avoid budget maximization, you can avoid bureau shaping, you can avoid conflict of interest because they will serve professionally. That happens, let's say in US largely find this because the gap between both is very less, public sector, private sector. A person can come from, let's say, private sector to public sector. A person can go from public sector to private sector. And you can have, let's say, that means serving to public to private is not a matter. यहाँ पे तो बहुत ही प्रॉब्लम है. अगर आप पब्लिक से प्राइवेट जा रहे हो तो भी प्रॉब्लम, प्राइवेट से पब्लिक आ रहे हो तो भी प्रॉब्लम है. Because you have huge gap between both. Yes. And people will raise doubt on you as we know that कि अगर आप जॉब मान लो 2 साल यहाँ किया 4 साल वहाँ किया तो आपको इंटरव्यू में क्या बोलेगा, आप तो स्टेबल ही नहीं है. यहाँ उसको नेगेटिव तरीके से देखा जाता है कि आप स्टेबल ही नहीं है और वहाँ उसको पोटेंशियल की तरह मान लो उसका 2 साल का एक्सपीरियंस पोटेंशियल था, 2 साल उसने वर्क किया, उसको लग गया कि अब इसमें हमारा पोटेंशियल खत्म हो गया, अब उसको पोटेंशियल किसी और चीज में है तो लेट हिम डू दैट. दिस सो जैसे कोई इंजीनियरिंग कर रहा है उसको लगा कि नहीं मेरा पोटेंशियल म्यूजिक में है तो जाने दो उसको, अदरवाइज इट इज वेस्टेज ऑफ पोटेंशियल. ये पर हमारे यहाँ कैसे देखा जाता है, आईआईटी करके म्यूजिशियन बन गया. So people laugh at, right? But they don't think that, see, that person potential was, he may come to know about his potential at later stage. If you do not allow that person to become musician as an IT, he also be a failure. He will not be able to contribute. So you have to reach that level of human resource development you should have one day. And that will be a solution to all these problems. This, that we can consider. So that is how we'll find this. The last point we have written is
IAS should be sent to gain experience.
yes, the government has started this experiment. It is a very innovative experiment, although it has a risk that is called conflict of interest. So private sector में जाके they will have negative effect also, positive effect also. Right. So this way, but it is a kind of they will experience and work and बहुत सारे innovative practice चल रहा है. Government has started doing it in human resource development. Another is called circular migration concept. The government has entered in contract with 3 countries, Germany, Japan and Israel. And let's say that it will send its own, let's say that laborers. Laborers means people, they will go to these 3 countries. They will work there also. They will get training also. Work come training, you can say that. And they will acquire a skill. And then they will come back to India. So over 900 such people have been sent to Israel under that agreement. So this is another innovative, let's say, human resource development practice. So there can be several alternatives to promote expertise and specialization. Means lateral entry is not the only way. Don't glorify it, right? You can promote specialists from within. That is also you can promote higher academics. IAS, many IAS, you know that they have good academic background. They themselves have, they may be BTech, doctor, MBA. So they can have, let's say that different academic backgrounds. If you give them opportunity, they can also become a specialist. That aspect, domain specialization, I got practice. So we can use all these things to promote specialization, including lateral entry, we can consider this. So that can be one aspect, let's say, when we talk about. And then let's write, finally, let's, so you can address all those problems? No. Shortage of IAS, we have told, competence versus compatibility. Yes, there is compatibility problem. I have given a master type of content. From there you can deal sectoral. I did not deal sectoral way. The sectoral way dealing will affect the holistic aspect. This. So from there you can take, yes, competence is there, but compatibility problem. You can give example of Amber Dubey. Plus you can also talk how compatibility can be promoted. Theory why matrix structure. This. The theory why you can bring neo-Bavarian state. Basically, neo-Bavarian state is nothing but Max Weber plus new public management, bringing positive of both. This. So that time you will understand when we'll take this NPS etc. So that we can see. Then efficiency we promote, already you know, but accountability problem is there. This, how we can tackle it. This, so we can tackle it by, let's say, promoting different types of accountability. You can say multiple accountability. We should have multiple accountability concept, which will talk you when we'll take accountability chapter. Multiple accountability means you should have democratic accountability also, professional accountability also, moral accountability also. So there is no accountability, one type of accountability. Accountability is not simple. That is how NPS talks. This. So we need efficiency, but at the same time we also need accountability. That can be also, if you remember, to be told about PP, 4P we told this, that is applicable there. Here what you will say, they should learn. In this context you can write that. So lateral entrants, they should learn more public accountability, and IAS should learn more of professional accountability. This IAS has bureaucratic accountability. The IAS should become more and more professional. So when it becomes more professional, it will go close to lateral entrants. And if lateral entrants assume more and more public accountability, so you should hire those people who are public spirited also. You should not hire only those people who are just pure expert. You should also hire they have certain public spirit also. They want to serve, they want to work for the country. So that public spirited individual should also be, let's say that means while hiring you have to take into consideration. So that way we can say, so it should go close to this, it should go close to that. So that way we can find compatibility between efficiency and accountability. This, can you write on this aspect? Then this journalist nature will talk, there's a need for expertise in bureaucracy. That already we have told. How to make it successful, other alternatives, concluding observation we have given. This. So lateral entry should not be taken as panacea, you should know. Already that concluding observation we have given. It has its own challenges. Even if it has challenges, we have to learn how to make it successful. That aspect, and that is how you should talk on this. Then, since it is not relevant for public administration, just few things, just I will talk, I will not dictate it. Let's say lateral entry and do you think there should be reservation lateral entry? No, that should not be. Someone is saying that IAS को भी US जैसा there should be, let's call the, can we say allowing IAS to interview for lateral entry openings like US is a solution. Right. Let me tell that the government has introduced lateral entry. Right. Civil servants can also apply. Civil servants can also apply. This has also been done now. Yes. But you need to have that level of, you have to fulfill that criteria. You should have expertise. So it is not that they are barred, especially those who are specialists. If any government servant has, let's say that experience of that, has having expertise, can apply. This, let's say कि परमेश्वरन है ये. Yes. Parmeshwaran Iyer is the example. He was IAS. Yes. He quit. Then he got some academics. He pursued academics. He worked in US. And then he was made project head of Mission Karmyog. Sorry, project head of Swachh Bharat Mission. Yes. Yes. So it is an example. Even if an IAS has that kind of expertise, it is allowed. But it is a very rare case. It is a very rare practice. So that gives motivation, let's say, because he had experience in the field of IAS, he has expertise also. That is what call, let's say, that going to corporate, coming to public, going to corporate. That is what exactly you need to do in future. Yes. So that way, let's see, I think now he is associated with, he is CEO of Niti Aayog. Yes, he has been made CEO of Niti Aayog. Right. Very active person. He has written one book.
Former retired policy.
Actually, he very short duration then. This Amitabh Khan, then he became, then I think he may have discontinued. Not retired, he may have discontinued. Anyhow, so there is example also, so you should be aware about these things. Ki government is, means there is no rigid policy, let's say that. There is no rigid policy that ki lateral entry, it may change this. Government can accordingly change on the basis of the experience of lateral entry of these 5 years. That, so we should not adopt that rigid approach while writing it. Next is lateral entry and reservation. Do you think there should be reservation?
That was doing some things in short term, like the recruitment is only for 3 to 5 years. So I don't think that it matters that who is doing, considering the background of the person.
So if there will be reservation, then specialization will be compromised.
Yes, someone is writing. It is right to say that he is credited for making India open defecation free. Yes, we can write it. Although credit goes to the government on anonymity criteria, but he is the person brain behind that. Yes, lateral entry and reservation. Reservation क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए? It means कि reservation वही होना चाहिए जो permanent type job है. But future में mostly positions will become non-permanent.
Specialization compromise होगा.
In this way, इससे रिक्रूटमेंट तो फिर कहीं नहीं होना चाहिए, रिजर्वेशन तो कहीं भी नहीं होना चाहिए. The way merit is compromised at joint secretary level, the merit is also compromised at district magistrate level. क्या डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट लेवल पे मेरिट नहीं चाहिए? When you are being recruited as IAS, तो वहाँ तो रिजर्वेशन है. The same logic you can apply. If merit is being compromised at joint secretary level, the merit is also compromised at IAS level. इंडियन इंजीनियरिंग सर्विस में भी रिजर्वेशन है. इंडियन फॉरेस्ट सर्विस में भी रिजर्वेशन है. रिजर्वेशन सिर्फ सिविल सर्विस एग्जामिनेशन में नहीं है. ठीक. Yes. I will give just an idea. Rest you decide. Middle and higher level, you'll find, let's say, percentage. Towards top, percentage of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC. Less than their percentage of population. And general category, percentage is more than population. This not only in government, all across the sectors, private sector also will find this. I say even Delhi University also will find that all across the sector. So it is underrepresented. Now, how does it, let's say, affect welfare of the society, justice in society? This, you know it better. All top positions will be always, let's say, dominated by certain dominating class. This, the dominating class will always dominate. One day I gave you example of education system, isn't it? This education system of this, तो जो एलिट स्कूल से पढ़ेगा उसी को तो एक्सपर्टीज मिलेगा. Right, you don't have any, let's say you are not part of that fault, you can say, etc. So don't think that you are this and that. It's about the system. Try to understand. The particular person who is from Dhoni school, it is not that person's fault. It's the system. So all they will, who will dominate? Because they get higher education, they get elite institutions, right? Educational institutions, etc. The entire governance structure will be dominated by them in the name of what we say as merit. This, that itself inherently will promote injustice. This, inherently it will promote injustice. Now what US has done? US has affirmative action. You should know that. It has affirmative action. It does not give reservation. It has affirmative action and very fast, let's say that. What it does, if any company wants to get contract from government, then it will have to fulfill some criteria, including composition of its workforce. Like say if you have board of directors, in board of directors, how many members you have from black community? तो they may have determined a minimal criteria कि at least एक member black community से होना चाहिए. Reservation की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. If you apply for the government contract, if you do not fulfill that criteria, you will not get the contract. Now indirectly, the company is forced to bring that kind of people. It will improve their talent, it will improve their skill and knowledge. The responsibility goes to the company rather than to the government. This. So there is and it has not affected merit. Because it is not in practice from today, it is in practice from civil right movement, and this is how Civil Right Act they brought in 1964. In fact, they have Equal Opportunity Commission. Most of the advanced countries have Equal Opportunity Commission. This you should know that. We don't have Equal Opportunity Commission. We have different types of balkanized commissions which do not work. Scheduled Caste Commission, Scheduled Caste, OBC, Child Right, this, that, और कोई काम नहीं करते हैं. They do mechanical work. So, Equal Opportunity Commission will promote equal opportunity for all. Level playing field. The way you promote competition, regulators you have, similarly they promote in job market, in companies, level playing field for all people. This. So, they have this system. We do not. Let's say we have reservation system. So, this is macro level thing. Micro level thing is, suppose you have 50, let's say 80 posts we opened, joint secretary and above. And if you go by reservation criteria, the today reservation criteria is 69.5%. 59. इसका कैलकुलेट कर लो कितना होगा. EWS reservation, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC, its total is 59.5%. This 80 पोजीशन का इतने पोजीशन में रिजर्वेशन जाना था. It means कि the 40 positions which have gone to reserve category have gone to open category. और open category में dominate कौन करेगा? General class. So, once again, let's say that through lateral entry, what will happen? You were trying to increase their representation. Now their representation will be further affected. Already, how many secretary you have of OBC, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe? This. You can calculate. Hardly you have, let's say, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and OBC as secretary to the government of India. This. Then the question comes, merit is for what? आप merit क्यों promote करना चाहते हैं? And second is, what is merit? This merit क्या है? सो मेरिट ये नहीं है जो स्कॉलस्टिक एग्जामिनेशन जिसको बोला जाता है. ये हमारे आपके लिए है कि मेरिट ये है कि आपने पढ़ाई किया, यूपीएससी का एग्जाम दिया, क्वालिफाई कर दिया, मेरिट हो गया. राइट. मेरिट हैज डिफरेंट डेफिनेशन. दिस Amartya Sen will say that कि merit should make socio-economic conditions of society better. This. The merit is defined in broader sense. This. Mark Gallanted, that person definition is followed by Supreme Court. This. And he this. So he has given broader aspect of definition. That's socio-economic condition. This one aspect. Hard work done by the individual. Resourcefulness. 3 criteria. This resourcefulness in merit is determined by 3 criteria. Resourcefulness in society, socio-economic condition, and hard work done by individual. He says, our Supreme Court says that hard work is in individual control, but resourcefulness and socio-economic condition not in individual control. So those who are resourceful and socio-economic condition, if you say, if you bring 2 criteria, so those who are better off, right, with hard work further they can outcompete. This. So Supreme Court justified reservation in consequential promotion for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Nagaraj case, BK Pavitra case 1, BK Pavitra case 2. This. So, in that it took the broader view of equality, substantive equality, inclusive equality. This. The BK Pavitra case 2017, BK Pavitra case 2019. There it went on justifying reservation even in promotion, and it does not compromise merit and efficiency under Article 335. This is the idea, let's say. If you go as per what Supreme Court has said, there should be reservation also in lateral entry. It will not compromise competency. Why it will not compromise? You need to, while hiring, you need to encourage such people to apply. You need to reach out to such people. You need to encourage education. अब education कैसे encourage होगा? So you know that it's a very broader aspect. By the way, let's say that कि government was of view to introduce reservation in lateral entry before introduction of lateral entry. Yes. Only when it was introduced, then reservation was not included. But if you take government view before 2018, the government had reservation also in lateral entry. Yes. So, how it will not affect lateral entry, let's say efficiency? Simply, let's say you are promoting inclusive development. When you want to promote inclusive development, how will you promote inclusive development? What is justice? What is social justice? All these things. Although, yes, it will affect your individual ego needs. That way. And it is a very 13-point roster system is followed in reservation in, let's say, recruitment in the universities, etc., which is a flawed concept. रोस्टर सिस्टम क्या होता है? तो वो सिस्टम ये है कि मान लो 4 टीचर का रिक्रूटमेंट है, तो उन्होंने बोला है पहला जनरल का होगा, दूसरा ओबीसी का होगा, तीसरा शेड्यूल कास्ट का होगा. ऐसे करके रोस्टर सिस्टम होता है. अब पता चला कि एक ही टीचर का रिक्रूटमेंट हो रहा है, एक ही पोस्ट खाली हुआ, तो एक ही पोस्ट खाली है तो कौन आएगा? जनरल का आएगा. यस. अब वो पोस्ट खाली ही नहीं है. अरे जब तक आपके पास जनरल, ओबीसी, शेड्यूल का सिर्फ 4 पोस्ट होना चाहिए, एट ए टाइम 4 पोस्ट कभी खाली होगा ही नहीं. और हर डिपार्टमेंट में 4 टीचर होते नहीं है. अगर किसी डिपार्टमेंट में एक ही टीचर है तो वहां तो हमेशा जनरल का ही अपॉइंटमेंट होगा. तो रोस्टर सिस्टम इज ऑल्सो ए फ्लॉड सिस्टम. बट ये सारा टेक्निकलिटीज है. ऑल दीज थिंग्स फॉरगेट अबाउट दिस. एनीहाउ, राइट. इट इज चॉइस इज योर्स. आप क्या करोगे? सपोर्ट करोगे कि नहीं करोगे? Right. If you go as per reservation, as per Supreme Court judgment, there should be, let's say, reservation in lateral entry. This. Anyhow, so let's take tomorrow, we'll finish it.